We have consulted with the oracles in order to find out what are going to be the hottest, newest games released in the future in the board game market, or may have been announced from the publishers themselves.
AEG has announced another new expansion for Mystic Vale, this one titled Nemesis. This one will include some brand new leaders that you can upgrade as the game goes on. It also brings back the curse mechanic from previous expansion, and perhaps of interest to solo players, this one includes a set of Nemesis cards, which will now allow you to play Mystic Vale with the solitaire variant, which is pretty exciting. This one is going to be released February 28th, 2020.
Asmodee is teaming up with Blizzard to bring a new expansion to their Small World game based around the world of Warcraft. There isn't a title yet. I mean, I really hope they do Small World of Warcraft. It's right there for them. But if you can't guess, this will take the races from World of Warcraft and bring them into the game. You can see a bunch of the components. I think we've seen like Blood Elves, humans, goblins, the werewolf tribe, which I can't remember what they're called in World of Warcraft, but add some of the races you can use in Small World. This is slated to be spring 2020, and this actually isn't the first time we've actually seen video game races or influences in Small World. Borderlands actually got some of their skags, I believe, if I remember correctly, in Small World as well. So maybe this is a sign we'll see maybe StarCraft races or other video game properties enter the not so small anymore Small World.
Rick and Morty, The Morty Zone, is the newest Rick and Morty based tabletop game from Cryptozoic. This one is based off an episode from the brand new upcoming 4th season, which by the time you're watching this, I believe it has just started to air. So you might have got the chance to get your hands on this one before you even watch the episode, because it's actually available now in some stores. Will be available in a wider release November 19th, this same month. But the way the game works, it's a roll and write. You're rolling a bunch of dice of different colors, and depending on the colors and combinations, players are marking off different sections on their own personal sheets and trying to score points. There are going to be personal goals you're trying to complete, and of course you're going to get some Rick cards, which will give you special abilities to let you manipulate those dice.
Bethesda's Fallout video game series may be on a bit of shaky ground right now, but not so in the tabletop world. Fantasy Flight has announced another Fallout game, this one titled Fallout Shelter, based on the app with the same name. In the app, you will work alone to build up your shelter. You try to assign workers to different places and keep everyone happy, gather resources from outside and in. In this one, it's competitive. The overseer has died, and you're all trying to compete to be the best overseer. To do so, you have to show that you bring the most happiness to the vault, but with similar mechanics such as building up the vault, assigning your own workers to specific places, trying to take advantage of their skills, maybe even teaching them to get better special talents and skills so they can work better. I don't know though, but the last time there was voting for overseers in a Fallout shelter, it was bad. So hopefully this is a better experiment.
The classic Richard Garfield dice-throwing game, King of Tokyo, is coming back in a new edition from Yellow Games. This one is called King of Tokyo Dark Edition. This is going to be a limited print run, so only available for a short amount of time, but it includes all new artwork. It's got a much more sleek, almost black and white style, but with some color splashed in there, using pretty much the same mechanics and components as the base game, although they have said there will be one new mechanic that is exclusive to this edition, but they haven't elaborated exactly on what that is yet, so it remains to be seen whether that will be worth the price or if this is more something that you just want if you're a really big collector.
Lookout Games has announced the next addition to their Oh My Goods series, this one titled Expeditions to New Dale. This series, I didn't even know about before, takes place in the Oh My Goods sort of universe, with this game supposed to be taking 5 years after their previous one, though they say you don't need to know anything about the prequels to play this. In this game, you are all running a mining camp initially, and you'll be building it up, building buildings. Certain tasks require a certain number of workers, and maybe you don't have enough or don't want to put enough there, because you can push your luck, because in the third phase, you actually might draw certain more workers that work in specific areas. So you may try to think, oh, I'll put one worker here, and if I draw those extra workers I need from the next phase, I'll be able to do the activity. But if you didn't get that worker, the entire chain might be non-existent. So if you like worker placement, maybe a bit of a twist with that push your luck mechanic, this is definitely a game to keep an eye on.
Detective, a modern crime board game, is also making a comeback from Portal Games with a new take on the series. It's called Detective Season 1. It's being released next year, and this one includes 3 brand new standalone cases that will use unique styles and settings from each other. So unlike the original game and its expansion, the cases won't be connected through any sort of a campaign scenario. These cases are also meant to be a bit shorter, taking only around 90 minutes to complete rather than the typical 3 hours or so. And the rules are going to be a little bit simplified, a little bit streamlined. So this might be a good pick if you have a family or other newer gamers who want to experience the detective style story, but aren't as familiar with the rules and mechanics.
Renegade Game Studios has announced 2 new games, both coming out in the quarter of the next year. First, we have Stellar, which is you're running an observatory and trying to find a lot of different spatial phenomena, black holes, dwarf stars, find all that cool stuff in the sky. We've also got Gloomy Graves, where you are all running graves and apparently in a fantasy world where you're going to just get tons of different bodies, dragons, unicorns, ogres, a lot of crazy things. Your job is to place them either in the private area or the communal graveyard, try to sort them in the right groups, so you probably want all the same species together, and a lot of different goals like that. The Voyages of Marco Polo is getting a sequel game, Marco Polo II, in the Service of Khan. This one takes place when Marco Polo was in China for a number of years, and it's a similar type of game to the original. You're still going to be placing dice as workers. This time you're traveling to different cities in order to collect goods. There's now a new good type, which is Jade, and there are brand new players that you can choose to play as, which have their own special abilities, of course. There are also a lot more options in general for things that you can do on your turn. This sequel is completely standalone. You don't need the original to play, and it's also going to be released in 2020. So why don't we start off talking about the 2 big video games that have been announced to be adapted to new board games, Fallout Shelter and some sort of World of Warcraft small world type thing. Fallout Shelter I'm definitely a little more interested in, and especially from your take as a big Fallout fan. It does seem like maybe a friendlier, simpler kind of thing that they could adapt, and also less baggage because there's not as much like lore they need to work in. Well, I've played the app game, and for the most part I liked it, except for the fact it's a free-to-play microtransaction game, so you sort of at a point got to be like,
sure.
But I think this makes perfect sense because it's not as much that's not story driven. In the app, it's like, because it's not like we need to stay canonical, it's like you could hire people. You've met people from throughout the games and just you can throw them in your vault. So this is like a fun, we're working together to build this little vault. I'm not sure how the competitive nature will turn out in it.
It seemed like it should have been cooperative to me. It feels like that kind of game.
I think a little bit, but I mean, weird things happen in the vault. And I would love to see them, though, because I mentioned, last time that voting an overseer was all about whoever became overseer was killed. I can't remember if that was New Vegas or 4, but I would love to see them maybe either in this or in a future small expansion, just events of like what the experiment is going on in that vault, and that actually could affect like who becomes overseer, who truly wins.
Yeah, there could be some interesting weird stuff in there. Also, this time the free-to-play aspect will be when they make you buy new expansions.
Hey, at least you get a physical thing there, not random packs.
Yeah, that's true. Hey, don't say Fantasy Flight might not try it. They've been known to try things before. How about that new King of Tokyo? There's some other new stuff on here.
I looked at that. I'm really curious what's going on. I saw the images. I won't lie. I did buy the Target version for the baby dinosaur version. Like, I didn't care about the alternate arts. I just wanted the new monster.
I will say, I think the art style is pretty cool.
I do like. It looks like a premium edition.
Yeah, but unfortunately,
I want to know what that game mechanic is.
Yeah, whatever that is, because it doesn't sound like this one also will include anything like the power-ups, the evolution stuff, which I know is a big part of the game for a lot of people. So.
Almost like I think it needs it.
Yeah, so it just seems like this might just be like, if you're casual, you don't have it yet, it's a cool, or just looks good on your shelf. Something like that would be cool.
What they should have done with this is it's Dark Edition, but like all the promo monsters are the ones in there. So like if you have the promos from before, they still look different. So you can still like, I was there at Gen Con 2015. But then people can still have the dark versions and then the evolutions for those monsters. That would be pretty cool.
That would be cool. Of course, the fact that they said it's going to be like a one print thing means that it's just a one-off. It's just a little goofy thing if you want it. I want to talk about the new Detective. That's another one that's
very
coming
excited
back.
to play that.
Yeah, we actually talked about this a little bit in depth on our podcast, which is Patreon exclusive if you want to check that out. But yeah, that should be interesting, assuming that the rules, I don't think it would hurt the game too much to lose some of the complexity. I don't think it's that complex a game, as long as you keep those stories tight. And we really liked the free one they put out, which was also a 90-minute shorter case.
You can watch us play that.
Yeah, so it'd be cool to. I think I like them taking that path of these tighter, more compact cases.
I'm really happy Mystic Vale's getting a solo mode. Mostly, not even just because I play a lot of it, but just anytime you add a solo mode into a game, it's just sort of nice that sometimes that way, okay, I can now try this out solo. Even like if you enjoy multiplayer more, just so you can know the mechanics. So when you do bring it to the table, you're like, okay, this is how this works.
Yeah, I've also found that in my experience, most deck building games that have a good solo experience. Well, it helps if they're co-op, but like I've really enjoyed Legendary as an example. I think it seems like it lends itself to that world well because you have this feeling of progression all by yourself. You don't need anyone else. It's just your deck, so that's kind of cool. The new Rick and Morty game, of course. So that's aired by the time this is out, but we haven't seen. I don't know if that's the first episode is the one this is based on. If people will know about that.
No,
yet.
it's the season finale.
Yeah, maybe. But it supposedly has something to do with Morty. They get a thing that lets them see all their possible deaths. So I think that's sort of the theme of the game too, is you're trying to figure out what your death will be. You want to have like the best one or something like that. But yeah, it sounded like very kind of like pretty typical roll and write stuff. We'll see how it actually plays. I don't know.
For some reason that sort of makes you think Death Machine.
Yeah, Machine of Death. That kind of idea. Yeah, heavier Euro gamers than us will know more about the games like Marco Polo, which is interesting. It's always interesting to me too when they.
Also, that one's been hard to find too. I know that's had a the first one, not the second one.
It's hard to find this new one. But I mean, I always find it interesting when they make a sequel to a game, and they just call it The Game 2.
Well, that's not the only one on our list. Expeditions to New Dale is technically like the next sequel in the series.
Right. It's funny. You think of Euro games as being very like, they stand alone, they're classic, but it seems like more and more the two worlds of Euro and Ameritrash collide, and they do both
Our
things.
influence is strong.
Yeah. Hey, let us know, which one of these are you looking forward to the most? There's some really cool stuff. Are you a fan of one of these properties, or are you more interested in some of the original entries on this week's list? No shortage of games to talk about and things to come in the coming months. 2020 is shaping up to be interesting.
Speaking of the coming days, this weekend we'll be streaming for Extra Life. You can, of course, check out on YouTube. We'll have it streaming there. And let us know how we're gaming, or if there's a particular game you want us to play, because there's a good chance we have it on one of our shelves.
Yeah, definitely stay tuned for that. It'd be fun if you joined us. Till next time, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Will.
This is Roll for Crit.
If you want to help out, you can check out our Patreon, or a simple click to like and subscribe can go a long way.
We really appreciate everything that you can do for us. We love you.